All right, hello everybody, and welcome to a very special list video. Normally on Tuesdays I would be doing some kind of top 5. Last week I did a top 10, but this week, in celebration of hitting 500 subscribers over the weekend, I decided that what I would do is just something different. And so what I'm going to do is making a tier list of the Marvel Champions heroes, but not based on power, not based on fun, but based on their art. This is very subjective, and I'm even going to say a few things. Like, one, in my mind, the D tier is the only category where I would say I wish they would out and out replace this art. I don't even know if I'm going to get to that point. And I'm going to limit myself to at most 3 that are in the S tier that are just like the creme de la creme of all art. But for the most part, this is just a fun video. Hopefully we can make this, relatively quick and easy. I'd say this is probably going to run about an hour because there's only so much I can say to defend this. And this is very subjective, obviously. You can love art that I don't like. I'll even say that I think that if the art is from a comic book, there's a very good chance that it's just going to rise up the ranks super fast. But let's not waste any time. Let's get into this. This is Masked Hero ranks every hero based on their art. So let's start out with Spider-Man himself. And I would say that, one, I think this is comic book art. Let me think here. Actually, everybody except for Black Panther is comic book art from the core set, I believe. So I'm going to say I am not terribly fond of this. So I'm going to put this in a B tier, kind of like it's okay. It's could be better. It is very indicative of Spider-Man. I think all of these arts, it's very clear who these characters are, but this one is, so-so. Comparable art, but not the best. And then we've got Terry Dodson on Captain Marvel. I think this is just some stellar art. I love this outfit for Captain Marvel. I think this is one of her better outfits. I guess there is a stage a little bit later on in her stuff. This is pretty close, actually, now that I think about it. Is this the same? It's just a different interpretation. I don't know. She's had some costumes that I don't necessarily love, and I think this is her best costume. I love the hairstyling. I love that she's not wearing a mask anymore. I love that she is just fully embraced being Captain Marvel, and this is just good art to represent that. Iron Man. Oh, I know this is also comic book art. This is also from a cover. I would say that this is probably also A tier. This is not my favorite version of his costume, but at the same time, it's not so egregious that I don't like it. Once again, it's very clear who this is. I think the interesting list, now that we're 3 positions in here, but I think the more interesting list would be a tier list of the alter egos, because I feel like some of that art there's a much bigger spectrum. But I would say this is an A for me. I have a feeling I'm going to be moving these around a lot once I sort of crystallize what I'm thinking here, but yeah, overall, I would say this is fine. Black Panther. I want Black Panther to have more cool art. I think it's representative of him. I don't think it's D tier. And see, we're going to be figuring out the crown a lot. So this is the creme de la creme. This is pretty great. This is fine. This is, I want something better, and this is all I'll replace. This is like egregious, you need to replace this. So yeah, I would say that I would love to see better art for Black Panther. I know custom artists have probably done plenty of really cool versions of it, but I'd like to see something better. It's clear who the character is, and I think that's what's important, is it clear who the character is? And I think it's clear, but it's just not the best. Then we've got She-Hulk. Oh man, I want to put this in B right now. I think it's right there with Spider-Man. It's clear who the character is. It's fine. I think that as we get into the game further, we're going to find that they figure out how to represent the characters a little bit better and make it very clear who everybody is. But for right now, we've got She-Hulk in that number, in the number. We were ranking this as a B tier. Captain America, I would also say I want better art for this. You know what? I think this is fine art, and in fact, I think it is. That looks like, oh, this isn't art for like Captain America Red, White, and Blue. I recognize this art style. I just can't place it. I know I've seen a comic book that has this art style before. I want him to have better art. I think this is very clear who it is. You've got his typical look. You got the shield. I think we can make him look even better, and so it's fine. I think I'd like better art. Then we've got, oh, these aren't even in order of like release. Okay, Doctor Strange. I think this could be replaced. I think this was just a speed bump. I didn't think I was actually going to reach it this quickly. Yeah, I don't love this art. Once again, I'm going to say this over and over again, probably by accident. It's always clear who the character is. But I think this should be replaced. I think that we can get something much better that fits within the artistic look of the series. The problem is, even as we're just looking at it right now, we've got these two, which I think are stellar. These two, which I think are pretty great. And then we've got stuff like this, and it's just like all these characters could look in this very wide spectrum. Even just between Captain Marvel and Spider-Man, there is an artistic difference. And I do think that like that with that spectrum, we could make Doctor Strange better. Black Widow, I really like this art for Black Widow. If you would have asked me what Black Widow looked like, I think I would have actually assumed that there was going to be something worse. That like they would have picked some other piece of art, or that the depiction of her would have been worse. But no, I think this version of Black Widow is very cool, very clear, and yeah, I'm going to put it at the B tier. Hulk, I know we can do something better for Hulk. When I was doing my new player guide, I was just looking over all the different arts for or different eras of Hulk. And even if we were to go all the way back to like 2018, 2017, when they were probably commissioning this art, we've had better versions of the Hulk. I think you could have drawn inspiration from somewhere else. And the thing is, I don't want to say that they should just use comic book art, but just knowing how these characters have been interpreted, I think that it's funny to watch him ripping up like an Ultron bot, but I think we can do something better. Thor. I look at Thor all the time. All the time. Obviously, his ally art is better than this. His ally art for the aggression ally is better than this. I think we can do so much better than this. I do not like this art for Thor, and I say that as somebody who plays with Thor all the time. Let's do something better. Miss Marvel. I think this is something that we could... You know what? No. I think we could do better than this. I think that this is fine. This is passable. This is not replace this art now. This is just, I think we can do better. There is, even if you just went back to her first comics in like 2012, the art there is just so great. And some of the, if you take the artistic style from some of the cards in her kit, like the Shrink and the Embiggen and the one that she takes 0 damage, I don't remember what that's called. Like, that art style is so great, and I just wish that we got something a little bit closer to that. So I know I know we can do better. Let's do better. Yeah, this is going to drive me a little nuts that these are all like these are the next ones. But okay, so Captain Ant-Man. Let me just look at got the big art in front of me. Granted, okay, going based off of this one, I'll even say that this is the superior art. I would say these are the superior arts for both of these triple-faced heroes. So I think this is okay. I think this, especially, the problem is we have some stellar art, and then we've got stuff like this that like is fine, but I almost wish that we didn't have stuff this good, or even like this. I don't remember this artist now. I'm blanking on it, but we've got some art in here that's just so good, and this is fine, but it could be better. And I think that's the thing is it doesn't rank up. I love the use of having him on a keyboard to show how small he is. I love the fingers in the background. The fingers in the background might be a little distracting, but at the same time, I just think that for showing off Ant-Man, I like this art. Let's see. So this is okay. So Wasp is on the top of a gun. She's in her tiny mode. I think we get to move. I'm so sad. I feel like I'm just gonna have everything be C. I don't know if that's true though. Okay, I'm gonna bump Captain America up 1 just because I think in comparison, this is much more in line, and I'd like to see. God, are these two arts really that different? Looking at them now. Yeah, I'm going to keep her at C. I would like to see something a little bit better. Quicksilver, I think, is fine. I think it's very clear who he is. I like the fact that he's running on water. That shows off his speed. His costume's always been kind of lacking, but for the most part, I love this. Another one that I look at all the time is I look at Scarlet Witch all the time, and I want to put her down in here because I know there is so much better art. Like, even in the last couple of years, her costume has gone in a direction that I wish we had the art that was kind of from her self-titled series. That costume is a little bit different. This is pretty close. I would much rather that we not be bending towards the male gaze completely. But yeah, I think this is fine. It's not the best, and I don't know that I definitely don't think it needs to be replaced. I know we could do better, but I also don't think that it's so bad that, like, if I had to commission 10 pieces of art be replaced, this wouldn't be one of them. Then we've got Hawkeye, who I think is fine. I think he's just middle of the road. It's clear who he is. He's got the bow and arrow. He's got the explosion behind him. That's pretty cool. But I just he kind of leaves some room for imagination. I think this is great art for Spider-Woman. I think this is reasonably tasteful. I think this is a panel from Mighty Avengers around the time of post-Civil War. This could be far much more male gaze and maybe worse. I think this is fine. I think this is very indicative of the character, and I think that it just looks great. Then we've got Star-Lord, who let me just see here real quick. Who do I think? Do I really feel like Star-Lord is fine? He's middle of the road. Yeah, I don't have much more to say. He's so generic. I know we can do better. I know we can do better with Drax. I want to put him there. If I only get to commission 10 pieces of art, this would be. You know what? No, I'm gonna. Oh, no, he's not egregious. This is not egregious. It would be nice if we could replace it. We can do better. I think this for Gamora is stellar. I love Gamora as a hero. The art really kind of sold me, and I think this is just great. And yeah, I think that it is not the top tier, but I think it's pretty great. Venom. I know people would love to see Eddie Brock Venom. I think Agent Venom is awesome. I think he has a really cool look. I know we could do better, but I do think this is some of the best. I think this is some of the best hero art. It's cool. It has a lot of action to it. Groot, I think it's just fine. It's nothing remarkable. You know what? I can't believe this. Captain America is just going up. I feel so like hypocritical here, but now that I'm really kind of taking it in, I'm realizing that the Captain America art is pretty good. It's pretty stellar. Let me see here. So Rocket is. I hate to put everything at the middle of the road, but I do kind of feel like that. Yeah, I think we could do better. I don't need it to be replaced. I think it's just fine. I think the problem is that there's so many different ways you can interpret these characters from the comics that when it finally comes time to like put them onto a card, you need to have a consistent look to all these characters. And sometimes that just results in these action poses that you know who the character is, you can understand it, it's clear, but it's almost just sort of like not as fulfilling as the character could be. Nebula, I feel like Nebula is right up there with Gamora. I just love this art. I know that the look of the character is pulled very much from the MCU. You're not going to necessarily have a comic book accurate look. I think this is better than her regular look. Her regular look, I think, would have looked silly. People wouldn't have recognized her because this is the look that people know her by now. And I think that this art is pretty spot on. I don't love War Machine, but I love his art. I think that it is so cool. I think that it reminds me so much of what made him pop off the screen when I was watching the 90s cartoon. Just this Iron Man with turrets. And I think this is some stellar art for War Machine. Let me look at Vision again. That is some pretty good art. I like the cape. I guess in my mind, and I think some of his kit art kind of reflects this, in my mind, Vision is just a little bit more kind of like gaunt and skinny, and this is sort of like more muscular. And I realize he's just a robot. But at the same time, I think he's... Okay, first of all, this screenshot is really poor. It does not show off the hues and the just how radiant he is. But let me see here. I'd say he's still middle of the road. I'm so conflicted. I almost want to make like a B+ tier. That would probably level this out some. Like I think there's a spectrum right here that's hard for me to kind of like parse out. And until I get to an S tier, I feel like it's going to be hard for me to really kind of like sync all this up. Although I'm happy that this is more of a fluid list. We are going to be tinkering with this a little bit, but Vision. I think Vision's in the middle of the pack. You got it there. I think this is. I love this art so much. I realize it's a lackluster character that not everybody loves. I think that just in terms of art, I think Valkyrie just looks so great. Once again, her alter ego art, I wish was better. I don't have the same problem that I have with some other characters, where I don't feel like the alter ego is tied to the hero. And yeah, I think this is some of the best hero art in the game. Spectrum, I would say, I guess I'm happy that I'm moving away from C tiers. I think they kind of got through their little slump, and that the art has gotten better. I think this is just comparable. This is just fine. I say that, and Warlock, you know what? No, if I replace this art, get new art, he looks so much better, and he looks so kind of like just no in this art. I wish they would just replace this art. I do not like it. I know that he can look so much more heroic and so much better, and it's hard because his alter ego is the same thing, so like you kind of have to differentiate them. But I think you can have his one art on the other side and then have his hero art just be something a little bit more heroic, something a little bit more bold, and I do not like this Adam Warlock art. Nova, I think, okay, I want to put him also in S tier, and that's going to be tentative. I think he's, by the end of this list, he may move down to A tier as I sort of really get my bearings. But I think this is some of the best art as well in the game, and I love it. Ironheart, I think, is also really good. I think they do really well with the Iron characters. The Iron Man, the War Machine, the Ironheart. I think all of them, they were spot on with the art, and I really enjoy it. Spider, this is hard because there's not a lot of art for Spider, and I do think that Spider is the kind of look that is really easy to say, like just does not proportionally fit onto a card very well. I think if you look at her art, there's a lot of stuff where it's like she's only really positioned in the art frame really well because she's kind of like crunched down because she's doing something. So I don't want to say look for new art. This is just fine. I really would like to see something better, but I don't really know what you do, because you're talking about just like making really cool art for a Gundam, and I don't know that like the art for a Gundam, especially when you have to fit it into like this square, this rectangle-ish kind of thing, this just very off square kind of thing, I think you're gonna get something that's much better than this. This is comparable and fine. Spider-Ham, I think, is A tier. I think he could very well move up to S tier. I think this is just great. I think that it is nice when the game can have a little bit of levity, a little bit of comedy. And yeah, overall, I like this art, and I think it's pretty great. Ghost Spider. See, the thing is, I know Ghost Spider has better art. There's art within her kit that is better, and I wish that they would have just gone with that style. It's so hard because you can't have the heroes all have distinctly different art for their hero card, but art exists out there. And very similar to, we'll get to it with Phoenix, there is some art from like just like one of her allies and like one of her ally card in a different kit, I think in the Magneto pack. And there's an art of her in the Phoenix hero pack that I'm just like, oh, just make the art look like this. And that's not the same problem with Ghost Spider. It's just that I know that Ghost Spider has a very distinct look, and I wish that they would have maybe just engaged with that a little bit more. I don't want to put it in C. It's not C tier. But I know we can do better than this, and that's why it keeps it out of A tier. There's something about this that just like it could be better, and I just can't. I just don't have it in me to put it in A tier. Same thing with Miles. Miles has such incredible art out there, and I'm not saying that you need to go take comic book art, but just that I know what's possible, and so for this to just kind of be his card, it's like, I don't know. I want something more, and unfortunately, this just isn't as dynamic as I know we can make Miles look. Colossus. Oh, this is hard because I don't. Okay, let's do this. That works for me. Okay, so now that we've redefined this a little bit, let me just resort these a little bit. That moves up. That moves up. That moves up. And actually all three of these move up. All three of these I was conflicted on. So there we go. Gotta redefine this. A B was gonna get way too stacked up. Okay, so I'm happier with this. I think that there is a spectrum, and I do think that we needed to better represent this. So let's see here. Does that also mean that any of these get bumped down? I think Nebula gets bumped down, and I think Captain America gets there. Yeah, because I don't want to say he's the second best. It's weird how much Captain America moved around. Okay, so we've done that. Let's move on to Kitty. She's just fine. It was the artist for. Okay, first of all, this needs to get bumped up. That's not where she goes at all. We're just gonna reorganize these a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna put the heroes the front of. No, that's not where she. Bishop. To put them at the front of their thing, so at least the waves start with the characters that started the wave. Okay, so I have this issue with the Kitty, Phoenix, and Rogue. They're the same artist, I'm pretty sure, and it just feels a little bit too much like watercolor markers or something. They feel like they're just not right, and that's. Once again, it's difficult because, like, growing up on comics, I know how divergent the art could be. There is no character in our game that is anywhere near as bad as some of the comic book art I've looked at before. There are people who it's just like, they just have the ugliest art style. I do not like them. Some of them look like very flat. Some of them look like they're little babies with these big, large cheeks. And they just look dull, and all these characters look dynamic. It's just that when you look at all the heroes all together, I do think that I do not like this art style. It's just something does not go right with me. Yeah, Kitty, it's not so bad that I want it replaced. it's just kind of fine. We'll bump this around a little bit. With Phoenix, replace this art. There is such better art of Jean Grey Phoenix. Replace this art. We can do better. I know it. Cyclops is... this is probably... It's fine. It's above the curve. It's nowhere near needs to get replaced. It's indicative of the character, so I feel like that's fine. Actually, now that I start thinking about it, I think Storm is also the same artist. Is that true? No, that is different. Yeah, and the thing is, I'm commenting on this art, and really, I should have put this up front. This is better art than I can make. It's just when we're looking at it from the perspective of like, how well is this art? Okay, so sorry, I kind of dropped Storm somewhere. Storm is not the same artist. I think this is fine. I don't think it needs to be replaced. I think it is indicative of the character. Even within this this hero pack, there was better art. But I also think that putting cool art onto events and onto different upgrades and everything is one thing. Putting it onto allies is a different thing. I think heroes should have some of the best art. But I think they should have the best art when it comes to between heroes and allies. I think that it would just be really great if they had, if there was no, and I think this is really difficult once again because it's so subjective. I think there are maybe a handful of ally arts for characters that are also heroes where the ally art is better than the hero art. And I don't really feel like the ally for Storm is worse or is better than the hero art for Storm. I just think that like there's her like lightning bolt attack or whatever, or one of her Storm events is got Greg Land art on it and it just looks better. But for the most part, I'm not going to get picky here. I think this is fine. Wolverine, I know we could do better. I'm not okay. I think I'm so conflicted that it's probably just a B. It could be better. It's not the worst. It's just sort of it. The problem is Wolverine is so iconic that you could basically just have him be in that costume with his claws out, and everyone would know exactly who he is. In fact, I hadn't really commented on that as we've been going through stuff. In terms of the costumes, I don't know that any of these have strayed away from what I would like to see. Kitty, I could go for a different costume. Some of the art within her kit shows a slightly different costume, and I think that is maybe better. Wolverine, you can't put him in anything else. Storm, besides having her be her 80s Mohawk Storm, which I don't think is clear enough now. That's not her look nowadays, although the X-Men 97 did put it back into the spotlight. I couldn't change that. The Guardians are the Guardians. And I think the only other one where it's like, I know Adam Warlock could look better, so let's put Adam Warlock in a better costume. Rogue, I'm going to put it in C. I don't think it's as weak as Replace This Now, but if I could, C and D are so close to each other. D is just, we need better art than this. C is, I know we could do better than this. But overall, it's clear who the character is. I really would actually love her like 2006 outfit. I don't think that would be as... It's closer to what she wore when she first came into the comics, when she first premiered. I think the only problem is that I don't think it's as clear who the character is. I think this look is so iconic that it's hard to change it. Plus, then if you did that, then you'd have to change the art in her entire kit to something that was more close to that. But I don't have strong feelings about that. So then we move on to Domino. I love Domino. I think that she's got kind of middling art. I know we could do better. In fact, there are a couple pictures from within her kit, or she's on art of cards where it's like, I would have loved to have seen something a little bit closer to this. She doesn't need to get replaced. She's fine, and I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. Cable is another character that I know there is better art. I'm not saying we do Bachelot, but Ramos art. I think that might be a little too extreme, and it would kind of take away from the look of the comics. It might look too much like Spider-Ham, but yeah, he's just fine. Nothing too bad. Not the most inspiring thing. Angel, I think this is pretty good. I like both of his hero arts. I think this, in terms of just like a representation of the character, I think that just, you know, regular non-horseman Angel is a good representation. I think this is fine. Deadpool, the fact that he's got a speech bubble definitely brings him up a little bit. That adds to the art. I would say he's not A. Is he A? Let me look at. Let me take another look at the. Got a brick wall behind him, so he's like a stand-up comedian. He's holding the markers. He's breaking the fourth wall. You know what? I am going to put him up in A. Oops, sorry. I'm going to put him up in A. I think he's really good. I'd love to see something better, but in terms of just what we have for the game, I think it's pretty good. Gambit. Gambit got bumped to the wrong wave. I love this art for Gambit. I think it's really great. I'm not going to say it's the best of the best. Although now that I say that, I think Captain Marvel is some of the best art in the game, or some of the best hero art in the game. I love Gambit. I think that's pretty great. Psylocke. Psylocke is just kind of a B for me. It's fine. It's kind of middle of the road. It's not horrible. It's just okay. X-23 could be better. I think, once again, it's hard because you have to try to balance something to put on the art. A lot of her art probably could go very vicious and maybe a little more bloody than they'd want to put onto some pack art. But at the same time, this is just kind of fine. I would love if I get to commission new art, this is one that I would have on my short list that we could just get another interpretation of it. Magic is another character that is just fine. I think that it's got all the cool hallmarks. She's got your portal behind her. She's got her sword. She's got some of the metal armor and everything. I don't think we need her like more modern look, although some of the art in her kit does kind of reflect that. But yeah, overall, I think that this is just comparable. I think it's fine, and it's nothing that creates a bunch of emotions in me. Bishop, kind of the same thing. I think I would rather he have the mullet, because bald Bishop just is not as, like, the silhouette's just not there, the look is just not there, and I think that you want to just really engage in his original look. I think that's the other thing, is that the looks, like the looks that really made the characters popular, it might not necessarily be their first appearance, but it's going to be the looks that the creators really sort of like made them established names. Those are the looks you should probably go for, and this is the look for Bishop that I think is really fits that category. Iceman kind of leaves me wanting more. It's not the worst. There is far worse looks for Iceman. There's far worse things you could have. You know what? No, I think it's up here. I think that it is fine. This doesn't need to get replaced. I think this is fine. Yeah, I just don't have a strong enough feeling to be like, oh yeah, this needs to get replaced. We could do better. Jubilee, same thing. It's just sort of like right there. I can think of some pieces that I think would have been better, but I don't know that. One, you can't just take from comics for everything. But this is her iconic look. She doesn't really stray away from this. So yeah, I'll just put it right here. Nightcrawler has some of the best art in the game. I think this is just awesome. Magneto. I'm fine with the white outfit, because I think you want to differentiate him from his villain card. That said, I don't know if he carries the grandeur of Magneto. I don't know if this really just like shows off how great he is. Really makes you go, of course, that look at that badass right there. I'm conflicted because this is not bad. I don't know that this is on the short list for being replaced. I just think it's middle of the road. It's not as dynamic as I'd like it to be, and it doesn't push its way up to here. Maria Hill. The last two, it's going to be more difficult because I don't have as much experience. I don't get to look. I haven't really sat down and looked at them that much. I think she's also right here, and I think that Nick Fury is right there. Now let me just see here. Is there any of these that I would kind of like? Well, of course, now I'm getting an ad. Is there any of these? Is there any of these that I would very strongly move around? I do think that She-Hulk is better than I was giving her credit for. Is there any of these that are kind of middle of the road that I... You know what? I like Domino a little bit more than I was letting on. I think that when you really take a step back to look at it and you realize that like there's this bullet hole here, and that basically shows off how lucky she is, I think that does do some good storytelling. I wasn't giving Wolverine enough credit. I think this is pretty good art for Wolverine. Yeah, I think I'm happy with this. So yes, this is my tier list of the hero art. Once again, it's very subjective, but yeah, this is just my little way of doing something special for 500. Hopefully I can get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That would be just great. That would be a big push. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow I'm up to 1,000 in September, and I've really undersold myself. But yeah, we've got 9 months approximately to do it. Let's make it happen, and then I'll do something at 1,000. But that would be it. Thank you so much for your time. And I won't ask you to categorize everything. What is your favorite hero art in the game? But until next time, I will see you all later.